What's going on? And welcome to what we hope is your favorite sports talk radio program. This is Idaho Sports Talk. We're Prater in the ball game. And again, you guys are so smart. You keep finding us on KTIK Sports Radio, The Ticket, or in this case, Bronco Nation News as well. Plenty of ways to catch your Idaho Sports Talk. And to come at you today on a gloomy, rainy, windy Las Vegas afternoon. We are in Cabana 1. At the Circa Stadium swim pool area. It's we're making the best out of this, right? This is not how we wanted to party today, Boise State and the weather, but heck, for the next couple hours, we're going to bring you what we do each and every day on this program. So glad you're with us. 208-424-9300, Cloverdale Plumbing and Double Tap Pub. Get in touch with the show. Start it off right here. What seed, not do you hope Boise State will get, what seed do you think Boise State will get? Just text us a number, easy peasy, and we'll get that going. I'm Johnny Ballgame. Appreciate you guys again hanging out with us with my partner in crime. Gosh, is it 4 years? Almost 4 years. Mike Prater, my partner here. And sorry, JP, I'll get to you in a second. But Prater, I'll tell you this. Leaving Las Vegas might be your favorite Sheryl Crow song. It might be my favorite Nicolas Cage movie, but it is not either which of Leon Rice's, right? Boise State leaving Las Vegas a little earlier than they wanted to, but heck, the sky's not falling. What's up, bud?
No, it's not falling, and it is still a bit of a buzzkill, but who's better to create or who's better to kill a buzzkill than you and me, and we're going to get after it today, and we're going to break down this basketball game and what happened last night at Thomas and Mack Center. And it is not the end-all of end-all, but it is certainly, I don't know if it's a continuation of a trend, but this has happened before. You're right, Leon, he doesn't like it, but he seems like he keeps on doing it, leaving Las Vegas just a little bit too early. And we're going to break down last night's basketball game. BJ Rains is going to join us just here in a few minutes. This is the Idaho Sports Talk Bronco Nation News pool party at Circa, and we appreciate BJ for bringing us down and putting all this together and even running the camera work behind the scenes until he jumps in front of the camera. It takes a rare man to work behind the camera and in front of the camera, but BJ is going to break down all the metrics and what last night means, and more importantly, what Sunday means.
Yeah, BJ's one of those guys, like athletes will say, he's not great at anything, but he's good at a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He's good at a lot of things, but he's not great at one thing, all kidding aside. But, BJ will hop on, lots of Boise State talk, and we're not going to spend much time really dissecting that loss. What's the use, right? This team's getting ready for its third consecutive trip to the NCAA tournament, Prater. So today, kind of what we're going to do for our audience, we think they're going to want to know, where are the numbers? Where are the computer updates? Where is their resume? A lot of teams are still adding to their resume, good or bad right now playing. And we kind of want to break this down. BJ, nobody follows Ken Palm better. So we're going to really pick this apart for our listeners and say, hey, here's what you might be able to expect on what's going to be, a very highly anticipated Selection Sunday for Boise State fans. Like right now, I don't think anybody really knows. They think maybe 8-9, but maybe on the 7 and 10, Prater. That's what we want to find today.
Yeah, and we're going to get that information today. Not the final answer, but we're certainly going to be a lot smarter about that. And frankly, I don't really care about the numbers line, and I'm not a big Ken Paul metrics guy, but today's conversation is very, very important. And more than what number that they jump on, whether it's 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever it is, and I know that sometimes correlates to the matchup, but I just want to know who the matchup is. Is Boise State going to be playing a big, giant, lumbering Big Ten team? Are they going to be playing some kind of crazy, athletic, behemoth type SEC team? The matchup to me is more important, and hopefully Boise State can roll the dice on Sunday, and after losing last night's game where they didn't really play that bad. If you look at this as a blind resume, a blind box score, you think, okay, that team got beat by 30. Because the numbers were gross and not in Boise State's favor. But they played hard enough and gut-checked themselves enough in the second half where they made this a decent game. But they're going to get beat up a little bit on Sunday, and it just comes down to the matchup. And it's still a good basketball team. And with the right matchup, they can still make some noise. So I know we're being optimistic on a Buzzkill Friday, but yes, that's what we're here for, ball game.
All right. Is there anything you guys saw last night that actually legit worries you for their first game, which will be Thursday or Friday of next week? Was there something? Was it just Roddy Anderson being downright erratic at some certain times? Was it, the fact that maybe Buzo probably wasn't as aggressive as he needed to be? He smoked New Mexico this year, and at times, Prater, we saw him again kind of standing in the corner waiting to get the ball. Like, I'd like to know from our listeners too, what about, if anything, last night worried you? I'm not worried that Omar Stanley went 1 for 7. He never shoots outside the key unless it's a 3, and he's pretty good at both. That wouldn't concern me. What concerns me is that Omar only got 7 shots up. I want Omar to be a double-digit shot taker. So maybe some people will chime in on that as well on the Cloverdale Plumbing text line. Just what about last night that you saw that maybe you've seen all year, and you're like, here we are at the dance, and dang it, dadgummit, Prater, it hasn't been fixed yet. That's kind of what I want to hear, too, from our listeners, and maybe BJ can add on that. Like, what is the boogeyman of this team? I like what you say, too, on the opponent, right? Because you're going to get one of two. You get kind of the underachieving big badass like Memphis a couple years ago, right?
Yep.
4 NBA players on their team, but they're on the 8-9 line. Shouldn't be, right? Or you get the overachieving mid-major that's like 29-4, like a Utah State type of team that knows how to win, that's most likely very experienced. But overall, there's not a lot of NBA bodies running around.
Yep.
I don't know. I honestly don't. I wish I had a better opinion on it, but I don't know what works best for Boise State. I don't know what the better fit is. What do you have? I mean, is it?
I don't, and maybe that's one of the kryptonites, or maybe that's one of the strengths of this team, because it is kind of a chameleon team. Last night, give credit to New Mexico. Boise State's always been able to play well against New Mexico because they can play well on the perimeter, and Boise State's guards and front court matches up well with New Mexico's guard and front court. So last night they kind of flip-flopped that scenario. Here comes Omar Stanley hanging out at
Speak
a pool
of the
party.
devil, we're just talking about Omar Stanley. Omar, I need you to shoot 10 plus, man. 7 shots, Omar. We need you.
Omar doesn't know this, but he met my wife last night, who was very smitten with the meeting last night, and was very happy to see Omar, and we love him. He was on our show just a couple weeks ago, and certainly played his role last night, and I'm sure he's disappointed in his effort. But credit to New Mexico, who just came out more motivated. It's like the caged tiger in a corner, and it's a really damaging situation for that. And Boise State just ran into a buzzkill last night when they came into this game without the chip on their shoulder. And that was the point of the column that I wrote. And we talked about, they've earned this luxury of playing loose-free basketball.
Yes.
You know what? We learned something about Boise State basketball last night. Leon Rice teams need to have a chip on their shoulder. And last time I checked, chips are important in Vegas. Yeah. Casino chips, poker chips, chips on your shoulder. And Boise State proved that last night. So, but back to your original question before Omar inconveniently, interrupted us. I think Boise State can get smothered by a variety of different teams, and I think Boise State can also match up with a variety of different teams. So that's what makes Selection Sunday so fascinating this year.
It is, man. And I don't know, for me, I'm a location guy. I'd love to see them get somewhere close where Bronco Nation can travel. But I think that's a flip of the coin. I think you're just as likely to go to Brooklyn as you are Spokane. So
ball game, that's a perfect segue for 4:00. And we're doing a 2-hour show today. And for the first hour, as you just said, we're going to break it down here in a minute, the numbers and the metrics with BJ Rains and Bronco Nation News. At 3:45, Bob's going to join us with Bronco Focus. And we're going to talk a little bit more about last night's game and Bob's opinion about where this team is. But at 4:00, guys, I want you and I and Bronco Nation to have a serious conversation about the fan base and traveling. And part of the big part of this game last night was New Mexico traveling and just dominating the crowd, which isn't news. New Mexico has been dominating travel and postseason basketball in the West region for 30, 40 years. I saw it back in the 80s in WAC tournaments when they were doing their thing, and they're still doing it. And last night, when this basketball game started, New Mexico essentially had an 8-point lead. They won by 10. That was the difference last night when this team came out on fire and played with energy of that crowd. The question to you, Bronco Nation, and they represented decently last night. Decent. There were small pockets of Boise State guys when New Mexico guys were in waves. I'm talking about fans. But what's it going to take for a Boise State fan to be more invested in this basketball team in terms of travel? And does it come down to trust? Do you trust this team to spend your dollars in March to travel? Can you come down to Vegas more? Will you go to Salt Lake or Spokane or Brooklyn next year? What about a Mountain West Championship football game in Vegas every single year? What's it going to take for Bronco Nation to support and travel better with this basketball team. And I get it.
Yeah.
We're not ready to beat you up because trust is a big, big factor with this team right now. I'm not dropping $2,000 going to Vegas in March thinking Leon Rice is going to lose another damn 1-and-out and I got to go home.
What's the count, Prater? I know you put it in your columns. What, he's been here 13 tournaments, 14?
7 of 13 tournaments, he's been one and done. But recently, he's also 3 of the last 5, he's gone on a nice little run. So a lot of that damage was done late. But you know what? I mean, early in the career, but again, it was resurrected again last night.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it, and you guys can text us that too. Why, you'd maybe love to come down, but you're thinking, one, they don't go far in this tournament, so I'll save my money. And two, maybe, Prater, you do know this time, in a rare situation, Boise State didn't need to do any damage at this tournament. If you have money for an NCAA tournament or a Mountain West tournament, maybe you choose, hey, we want to go to the NCAAs and we want to see in person this university do something it's never done and win a tournament or in a game in that tournament. So maybe that's where some of the money is going to. But by the way, Omar Stanley, hey, bro, he knows what parties to go to.
Absolutely.
Right. Omar Stanley mingling, signing autographs, meeting, greeting people. What a cool deal. Such a great guy. So that's why people hear about this stuff. Right? Omar Stanley's having a blast over there. All kidding aside, BJ Rain's going to hop on to us. Where was Boise State before last night's game, and according to the computer metrics, and where are they now? How much did last night's game affect anything? Clark Kellogg told us yesterday he doesn't think they could do anything even if they won the tournament. Not much is what he said. So we'll bring BJ Rains on here for our BNN report. We're Prater on the Ball Game live from Stadium Swim at Circa. KTIK, the ticket.
Do you pick the favorites or the upsets? Play the Idaho Sports Talk Bracket Challenge. You could win a summer concert package to 4 of this year's biggest shows. Sign up now and fill out your tournament bracket after it's announced on Sunday. Complete details at KTIK.com. Sports Radio The Ticket is your home for the NCAA basketball tournament. Join us for Selection Sunday to find out where Boise State is headed this Sunday starting at 4 p.m. And follow the March Madness tournament here on Sports Radio The Ticket and streaming on our app. It's time for the Bronco Nation News Report with four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains.
Remember that, Prater, four-time NMSCA. Not three, not two, not a solo winner, four-time.
Nice.
BJ Rains with us. And quick reminder, you'll get everything you need to green up your lawn. Spring is official next week. You'll find everything at Zamzows. BNN report, BJ Rains. BJ, I don't know if we need your overall opinion on the game last night. Maybe we start you there soft, but we want to talk bracketology. Yeah. We want Ken Palm. We want numbers. We want resume talk. Let's get down and dirty. I'll ask you first. Where was Boise State yesterday, resume-wise, going into the New Mexico game?
Well, first of all, I just figured Prater knows so much about all this stuff that I figured Prater didn't need my help talking about it with all he likes to talk about.
BJ, this is the one metrics conversation you get a year on Idaho Sports Talk. This is the only time Prater's going to allow this thing, so you better make it count.
Yeah, I walked out and I said, let's talk metrics, let's talk Ken Palm, let's talk numbers, and you both looked at me like, Prater's drunk, and it's not even showtime.
Well, he is in Vegas. Okay.
Chicken strips and fries over here. No, they were 24 in the net, and they were in a pretty good spot. A lot of people had them in the 7-seed range, 8-seed range, just depending on the bracketology report. Ken Palm number was, I think, right around 40. And it was a quad one game. So I know the next question is where they ended up, but they were in the 7-8 range, 24 in the net, quad one game for everybody. If you're in the top 30, they were in a great position and had nothing to worry about.
Now, BJ, just a quick follow-up, but I know he's got another. Is that pretty? What's the number one criteria there? It's about season body of work. It's not about one game and overreacting to one game. It's a season body of work and the strength of schedule. Is that the two biggest components going back to like November and December?
Yeah, so quad one wins really do matter, and then how you did on the road really matters too. Boise State was 7-2 on the road this year in conference play. A team like San Diego State was 2-7.
Right.
They're supposed to put in road record, this non-conference strength of schedule. The net ranking, everybody gets talking about that, but it's not really your net ranking that matters. It's your opponent net ranking, because that's how they do the quad system. So the net ranking is not some power rankings that's supposed, you're higher in the net, so you should be ranked higher. That's not how it works, really. The net is used to sort the quad system. And if you're just saying what are the two most important things, I would say strength of schedule is certainly big. And then the advanced metrics like the Ken Palm numbers certainly play into that. Boise State's 42nd at Ken Palm. As I said, 27th in the net. Their season high in the net was 23, like before the tournament started. So they're still really close to where they were. I know that was your next question, John.
No, yeah. Where do they sit right now? Maybe you'll sound like a broken record. It's the exact same scenario as yesterday before the New Mexico game tipped off. Maybe. Where are they?
They went from 24 to 27 in the net, so they only dropped 3 spots. And again, they went into that game at 24. New Mexico was 25. So, I mean, it's not like they were playing, and a lot of the metrics like Ken Palm had New Mexico projected to win by 1 point last night. So I know fans are upset. I get it. I'm not excusing the loss, whatever, but metrics-wise, numbers-wise, it was essentially a wash. It didn't really do a lot for them. Whether the Joe Lenardis of the world want to drop them down 1 seed line, I think this probably puts them in the 8-9 game. I think they could have gotten the 7. I think they're safe in the 8-9. I don't think they drop to the 10. You'd almost rather drop to the 10 than the 8-9, so you can avoid the number 1 seed in the second round. And that's what you're talking about, Prater. What's the matchup going to be? And we should say, okay, they're 0-9. Let's worry about the first round first before you worry about the second.
Yep.
Yes.
But so 8-9, I guess essentially you'd have maybe not as good a team as a 7 in the first round, but I don't think it really moved much. Maybe if they would have won, they're probably a 7. They lose, they're in the 8-9 game, and overall they still have a very, very strong resume. And watch the Colorado State game tonight, because Colorado State is number 31. If they move up 1 spot, if they win tonight and get in the top 30, that would give Boise State a 7th quad 1 win. I think there's only 11 or 12 teams in the country that have at least 7 quad 1 wins. So the resume could still get stronger here without even playing.
All right, BJ, you did a good job of sucking me in. That's good information and really, really important information this time of year. But we know this decision comes down to 12 dudes in a hotel room in Indianapolis. And we're talking, the Tom Wistersills, the Big Sky commissioner, Greg Byrne, the Alabama commissioner, or the Alabama athletic director who was born in Idaho. We're talking about Mark Coyle, the Minnesota athletic director, who was a former Boise State athletic director. These 12 people, the selection committee will decide this. What's the most important? Do they look at Ken Palm? Do they look at net rankings? What are they supposed to look at? Can they even look at like the last 10, put a human factor into this? Everybody's been assigned a conference. They've all watched these games, and they're going to have to make these decisions. What's important to those dudes?
Well, to them, the first game you play on November 6th matters the same as the game yesterday. And I know for a lot of fans, recency bias, all this stuff, but all the games count the same. So Boise State's win over St. Mary's on December 2nd or whatever it was means just as much as, a St. Mary's or someone beating St. Mary's, a couple of days ago or whatever it is. So you got to look at the whole body of work. I mentioned the non-conference schedule. Did you go out and play anybody? And that's what's really hurting New Mexico right now. Joe Lenardi has updated his bracket. And again, I know he's the ESPN guy. He's the name guy. He's not statistically one of the top brackets guys out there. But Joe Lenardi still, after the win last night, has New Mexico as his first team out of the tournament right now. And part of that is they're in the 200s in strength of schedule. They kind of, I don't know, the computer trickers, I don't know if that's a little too strong of a word because they've had some nice wins. They won Boise State. But in the non-conference season, they mostly, not all, but mostly beat up on a lot of bad teams by 30 and 40 points, help their numbers, and they look at that kind of stuff. So Boise State, fans say, hey, you played this tough schedule. You didn't win in any of those games. You lost to Clemson. You lost to Washington State. You lost to Virginia Tech. You lost to Butler. I get that. They're still top 50 in the non-conference strength of schedule. They're still in a pretty good spot overall. And so, I think, did you challenge yourself? And then I mentioned the road games. Leon Rice talked about in the post game last night. How did you do on the road? And Boise State, again, 7-2 on the road in this league. 7-2.
I know.
To win at Viejas Arena, to win at Lawler Arena in Reno, to win at the Pit. I mean, you have to find for teams to win at the Pit and San Diego State in the same season. I can't imagine that's happened too many times. So I think that the strength of schedule, the road record, and the metrics all say Boise State is in a really, really good position at this point.
You said they're number 27. Let's just say, for the sake of whatever happens with Colorado, let's say that on Sunday they're 26, 27, 28. When it comes to this 12-man committee, what's the high? You talked about the potential landing spot would be 8 and 9, but what's the lowest and what's the highest they could go in? And is the committee locked into like certain rules, like you can only go so far based on your net ranking?
So Bracket Matrix is a website, a great website I tell folks to check out. They take 106 bracketologists, guys that do it out of their parents' basement, whatever, but they take 106 across the country and average out their rankings. And they also rank the guys based on previous years, how good they are, how many they get right. And they're pretty close when you average all these national guys together. They've got Boise State as the number 2 8 seed right now. So if you're the number 2 8 seed, I think the 7 seed, depending on what happens, could be in play, or probably the 9 seed, I would think, is your floor. I don't think if the Mountain West is as good as everyone thinks and they get the respect they deserve, I don't see how they go any worse than a 9. I think a 10 seed would be the absolute worst, but I would be surprised if they drop to a 10. Again, in that first round game or second round game, you avoid the 1 seed, you'd get a 2 in the second round. Maybe that's not the end of the world, but I think it's a 7 on a if things fall your way, they give the Mountain West a ton of respect, you get a 7. Otherwise, I think they're pretty largely locked into that 8-9 range right now. But I'll say this, like you had, was it Mississippi State beat Tennessee today?
Yeah.
New Mexico. I mean, there's a lot of bubble teams that won yesterday. And so if you're on the bubble, I mean, New Mexico, we all thought, they're guaranteed in. Well, all these other teams right there keep winning too. So that bubble is shrinking a little bit, and we'll see what happens. But Boise State, I'm going to say it's almost a lock. They're in the 8-9 game, I think.
Okay. I mean, I wonder where they're going to send those. I mean,
I got the scenario for you.
Yeah.
8-9 seed. They're going to go in Salt Lake City, and you have them play Gonzaga. Gonzaga in the 8-9 game. And if you win that game, you get to play Tommy Lloyd in Arizona. You got all three of the few.
Could you imagine Mark Few if having a Sweet 16 trip in front of him, he has to beat both of his former assistants? Feels like the tournament. They like those stories. I get it, BJ, and I agree.
They don't do it, but look at that.
It feels like it. And I think Boise State versus Gonzaga is in play because they're both in the same neighborhood of the 8-9, 7-10. So we'll obviously see that. I'm not beating this team up today. I've thought about, you know what? Yeah, they didn't play well. Yeah, they lost. Maybe if anything, this is a grown-up team. It's a very experienced team. There's men on this team. Maybe if anything, that was, somewhat of a psychological shell-shocking moment of, okay, wow, it can be gone that quick. Shooting 20%. Dang, we could do that again. Let's make sure we don't. I'm not going to beat the team up. They've done what they needed to do. They have a resume. They're going to be in the dance. I would have loved to see him play tonight. Shucks, right? We all wanted to go to the game. We're at the BNN KTIK pool party right now. There's a San Diego State fan partying. Boise State fan wants to be partying like San Diego State fan is right now, and I don't know. I'm not beating them up, guys. Like, I can't wait to see Selection Sunday. Let's see where they go. And holy smokes, Prater. Me and Prater we've been together 4 basketball seasons, 3 of which they've went to the dance. That's more than probably any other partner Prater's had on the radio combined.
I'm gonna be 3 for 3 with BNN. So when I started
think
BNN,
about that, right
when they started going to the tournament, I got one more dream scenario for you. The biggest win in Boise State football history came against Oklahoma. What if the biggest win in Boise State basketball history, the first round win, comes against Oklahoma? Well?
PJ, look at these storylines here, Prater.
I think Oklahoma is in play as a potential opponent for the first round game. Well. But I agree with you. And you know what? We saw that on the court last night. New Mexico knew they had to win this game, and not to say Boise State didn't care, didn't try. I don't know what
I
you guys.
Hate that.
Would you say 8-1 crowd advantage for New Mexico? 9-1.
Yeah, maybe not quite that. I was somewhat. Boise State had some pockets.
It was a nice crowd. The whole lower level was pretty much full. There was some good energy.
I'm going to go 7-3.
Okay.
I'm going to go 7-3 ratio.
I just thought that New Mexico came out riding high from that win against Air Force. They had to have the game. As you wrote in your column, Boise State didn't really have that chip on their shoulder. They knew they were in the tournament. And I'll tell you what, me and Johnny and Jay Tuss were standing there watching them warm up, Mike Prater. It was Brick City in the warm up.
And I told BJ he was an idiot for saying that, but maybe it came true.
No, Jay said it, and we were talking about, it'll be a fun story if they, make shots. You couldn't make a shot during.
BJ was saying they're not making anything in warm up.
Wow.
He was noticing, like they were stone cold Steve Austin in warm-ups last night.
Our guy Omar Stanley, me and Jay Tuss saw him airball a shot during the warm-ups. Like it was not good.
And he was 1 for 7. But I don't know. I'm one of those guys where I've seen dudes not miss during warm-ups. And then they come out and they don't play well. I don't know how much if a guy is a good BP, BJ in baseball, and he hits a bunch of BP homers out, does that mean you think he's going to hit one that night? I don't know.
Prater doesn't. You covered this team for a long time, though. If there was ever a year, though, where you would think it was meant to happen, isn't this the year Max Rice's last game or last year and all these guys they have in 7th year in the story of Cam Martin? Like they have storylines on this team that you watch other NCAA tournament teams, in my opinion, you're like, oh, that's a cool story. Oh, look at that team going to the Sweet 16, making a run, whatever. Like maybe we say this every time they're in the tournament, this is the year, but it just seems like with Max having, what he's done, his legacy, whatever, like it just seems like this might be the year, but it all comes down to, are they going to get stuck playing Michigan State? Or are they going to get stuck playing Memphis 2 years ago?
Yes.
We were watching Memphis warm up, and we're like, Boise State has literally no chance in this game.
I think Boise State, I didn't expect Boise State to win this tournament. That's part of the call, and that was part of the talk about the narrative, pregame narrative, is there's no pressure to win this tournament, nor do I think anybody expected them to win the tournament. They came up 1 game short in the Mountain West tournament of expectations. So that's not that far off for me. And I don't want to be the Pollyanna guy, but it still comes down to 1 game. And I said this in September, October, November. It comes down to next Thursday or Friday. And I still have belief in this team because of what you just said. It is a veteran team. It's a front court heavy team. It's a smart team. It's a savvy team. It's a resilient team and a tough team.
Yeah.
At this point, I would say, yesterday I would have probably thought maybe 46 they're going to win their first NCAA tournament. Now it might be 30-70, but that's not, those odds work in March, and I still have faith. So what's going to happen on Sunday? We're going to all look at Selection Sunday, and within 5 seconds, even smart guys or dumb guys like me, when it comes to these metrics, are going to go, okay, Boise State's in trouble, or Boise State's in a really good shape. And I'm going to ride that. I'm going to ride that momentum until we see them win or lose that football or basketball game on Thursday or Friday.
Which it goes both ways, because when they saw the Memphis matchup, I said they're in trouble.
Yep.
When I saw the Northwestern matchup,
I said the same thing.
I thought they were in pretty good shape. So.
But see, Northwestern brings those big lumbering Midwest Big Ten white guy physical. And this team is built for that better than it was then.
Sure.
So they have made progress. And I did sit in that press conference last night in the same room where we asked Leon Rice about slow growth 4 years ago, and I behaved last night. I didn't mention any column. I didn't even ask a stinking question last night, and I kept thinking, here we are 4 years later, and we're still having the same damn conversation.
Yeah,
but that was only 4 years ago.
I know, but
that's
slow. That's slow for me.
It is, but I think it's different when you're going to the dance, and Prater. That's what, like you said,
Tyson and Max.
Everything comes down to next week.
That's why. That's why last night was not the final chapter. Usually, when Boise State puts itself in a situation like they did last night, we all think mentally we're checked out. That's the final chapter.
Yep.
There is a ray of hope for Thursday or Friday.
Yeah. I mean, and they get another crack at this thing, or it's 0-10, and that's another story that no one in this town is going to want.
And you guys were talking about scenarios and all this. If you want to play in Salt Lake or you want them in Salt Lake, you just got to see what happens with Arizona. If Arizona can work their way up to a number 1 seed, you have to have an 8-9 in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
And that would be an option there. If they're a 2 seed, which they're projected right now, it'd be a 7-10. It might be a little tougher for Boise State to get there. So,
well, could you put Arizona as a 2 seed in Salt Lake as well? Why does it have to be a 1?
No, they could be a 2, but then they would play a 7 or 10.
Boise State would have to be on the 7-10 line.
Boise State's in the 8-9, it's going to be harder. So you got your 4, Purdue's going to Indianapolis. You got Houston going to Memphis, and you'll have UConn going to Brooklyn. Those will be where the 8-9 games are. Those would be the 4 spots there. Spokane, I don't think would be an option based on some of this stuff. So just watch the number 1 seeds and then see where they're going. I think that if you want Salt Lake, I think you need a number 1 seed for Arizona. They're still alive, right, in the Pac-12 semis.
Yeah, and Tennessee lost today. I don't know if that's going to make any kind of difference because I know they were kind of on the border. And I see a lot of stuff from knuckleheads like you who say worst case scenarios like maybe a 10 seed in Brooklyn. I don't know how that math comes together, but do we have to look for scenarios like that on Sunday?
So the 2 seeds are going to be Marquette, and I forget who the other 2 seeds are, but
probably Arizona.
Yeah, or Tennessee,
or
whatever.
Maybe North Carolina.
Yeah,
because someone's got to go to Charlotte. I mean, there's 8 sites, and they do the 4 and 4 pods, so you could have 2 number 1s go to the same site, 2 number 2s.
Yes,
but Marquette's going to get Indianapolis, I believe, so Marquette's probably going to be a 2.
Will get Indianapolis.
Purdue will
as
get
well.
a 1 in Indianapolis, so you'll have an 8-9 and a 7-10 in Indianapolis. That could be a spot. Omaha, Nebraska is one to look for as well. There's where my Jayhawks might be going as a 3 or 4 seed. So depending if Boise State, where they fall 7-10 or whatever. So it's actually not as hard if you just kind of look at the top seeds and know where they're going. It's actually a little easier to kind of predict where you think Boise State might go, especially as I think they're locked into that 8-9 game. Again, would you rather go to Brooklyn but maybe have a little easier matchup if you're Boise State, or do you want Salt Lake where more fans can drive? I mean,
you want the best scenario to win a basketball game. I don't care
game.
if it's played in front of 0 people. I don't care. Just win a freaking basketball game. That's all I want.
Leon does not care if he's got to go to Brooklyn to do it versus Spokane would be a dream, especially for Leon.
Too much pressure. Too many other storylines.
That's
just go
Tyson's
somewhere,
family.
lock yourself in a hotel room, and win a basketball game for 2 hours.
Do you guys agree with Prater? Could Spokane be a negative?
Yes.
Leon, pressure. Leon spent half of his life in Spokane, or not that long, but about 15 years. Tyson Degenhardt spent 20 years, 18 years in Spokane. Is that too big a pressure? You want him to get as far away as you can, lock this thing down, shut the door, close the blinds, Prater, turn the lights off, and just focus to win that tournament game. I kind of like where you're going with that. Selfishly, I want me and you to hop in a car again and drive ourselves to Salt Lake City or Spokane. I almost called it Spokompton.
I know we got to go to a break, but I just wanted to say one final thank you to you guys. I'm glad we made this work. Our partnership's been awesome the last couple of years with BNN and KTIK. So thank you to JP and everybody behind the scenes back at KTIK for allowing this all to happen, and for you guys to be down here and do a couple of shows. I know we expected today to be more of a festive atmosphere with a win and better weather and everything, but it's been fun down here the last couple of days, and you guys doing your daily morning segments and all that. It's been pretty cool, and I know we're going to sign off from the video audience too, but just wanted to get one more thank you to you guys and to KTIK. It's been a fun couple of days.
Yeah, we appreciate it, and we've said that 1,000 times. The one thing we haven't said that I do want to say, and I'm not the blow it up your smoke kind of guy, but the work you do behind the scenes, whether it's with BNN, whether it's helping us put together our production stuff here with some video and all that other kind of stuff, you put in about 8 to 10 hours of work every day that you can see visibly, and 2 to 4 hours behind the scenes that you can't really see. So I appreciate not only the invitation and bringing us down here. We're going to load up some serious stake tabs on your BNN account tonight, but your work behind the scenes.
Prater, but all the food that you just saw everybody else eat just kind of tapped me out. So you can try and ask all you want, but I don't think there's anything left on the card.
I think the sports book tapped you out a little more than the burger sliders.
Yeah,
bro.
wait a minute. Boise State's 0-9 in the NCAA tournament. I heard BJ Raines might be 0-8 on this trip.
We're tied. 0-9. We're now tied. I may have the record.
BJ hasn't hit a game.
May you both win a game in the next couple of days.
It's been going so bad. I took a Cardinals spring training game today, so we'll see how that goes.
I hope you win that one. Appreciate you. I echo all the sentiments that have been said here. This has been one of the best things we've done at KTIK since I've joined this team. That's partnering up with Bronco Nation News.
4 months. Let's do it again in 4 months for Football Media Day.
Let's do it again in like 5 days.
Okay.
We're Boise State tournament. BJ, if you want, I mean, we could all go to Brooklyn together. Right, BJ? Right, Uncle BJ? I'm just
Get
kidding.
outta here.
BJ, appreciate the party. It's been a lot of
Guys,
fun.
Thanks, guys.
Good stuff. Prater on the ball game. We will lose our video audience, but you guys can catch us on the stream, 95.3, 1350 AM, or the app on your phone. We'll be back in radio. We come back with the news. Big Boise State NFL news today that we're going to get to when we come back. We're Prater on the ball game. This is Idaho Sports Talk on KTIK.